So how good is Donovan Mitchell? One of the conversations we had while the internet was down yesterday was how good is Donovan Mitchell and who does Don compare to in the NBA? Because as by now, as a Jazz fan or an NBA fan or a Phoenix Suns fan, you're well aware of the Christmas schedule, which is Lakers and Nets, and you're going to hear from KD in a minute. Wait until you hear that audio. Lakers and Nets leading into Jazz and Mavs on Christmas night. Donovan Mitchell versus Luka's mom's offspring, Luka Doncic. And so the question was asked yesterday on this Fine Here program, Luka or Don? And I'm here to tell you I'm taking Don all day. I think Donovan Mitchell is one of the most underrated superstars in the game. That's right, I said it. He's a superstar.
Yeah.
But he's not one of the top 10 players. I would guess Donovan Mitchell's probably top 15. I think Luka Doncic is one of the most overrated players in the NBA. I think he does a lot of really nice things. He's very good. Donovan Mitchell is better. Donovan Mitchell has built his range. There's all these videos of him working with Chris Brickley in New York, David Alexander in Miami. Donovan Mitchell looks to be in incredible shape, and his handle looks as good as it has ever been. His range is as deep as anybody in the NBA, maybe Trae Young, but he's got logo range. And now he's a wanting, willing, tenacious defender. That's the part of his game that was lacking. But we saw, before his ankle fell off, we saw that Donovan Mitchell can actually really defend.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jake, I guess my question is who you got, Luka Doncic or Donovan Mitchell?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I would go with Don all day. I think that Luka is a guy who... let me say this. First of all, I believe I'm someone who definitely believes that the Euro player who comes to the NBA is always going to struggle with the physicality of the NBA. And yes, we can complain about officiating and the fact that, we're not playing 90s basketball anymore. Right, but the fact is that the NBA is much more physical than Euro basketball. And I think that, Luka, yes, does he put up stats? Absolutely. Does he fill up the stat sheet? Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. He's a joy to watch. He hits shots that you don't think he's going to hit. Absolutely, he's fun to watch, which is why he's playing on Christmas Day. However, when I have this discussion and I look at Don versus Luka, you start to think about, okay, who would I want? Who would I want to be the leader of my team? And this is something else in Donovan's game that I think goes largely under the radar. Donovan Mitchell is the leader of the Utah Jazz. The Jazz go as Don goes. So if Don's putting up 40, they're winning ball games. A lot of the time. They're having a good night. If he's having a good night, they're having a good night. Everything's all good. If he's having a bad night, okay, now everything's not all good. So with Luka, to me, there have been times where he hasn't really shown up, and the Mavericks have found a way to win. And then I look at the relationship with Porzingis, and I say, you're just not a good leader, man. Your team cannot handle adversity. You ruined a relationship with one of the rarest talents the league's seen in quite some time. And you're not a winner to this point anyway. You're respected, but you're not a winner. And I look at Don and I say, no, he's not a winner either yet. But I can clearly see a path for Donovan Mitchell getting to, the Western Conference Finals, and then getting to the NBA Finals. I mean, I think we could all agree that we can see the progression every single year over year. So at the end of the day, I would take Don over Luka, every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Well, and I would agree that. Again, I want to make it clear. I think both guys are spectacular players. I happen to think that Donovan Mitchell mentally is a more ready player than Luka Doncic is. I think Luka is very entitled. I think he is very young. And I think Donovan Mitchell is an old soul. This is a guy that you would have no idea how many years he's played basketball or what his upbringing was or his background, because he's a calm, just ready demeanor killer kind of player.
Yeah.
If you put him in the NBA Finals with the game on the line, Donovan Mitchell is going to come through. And I can't say the same thing about Luka Doncic.
Yep.
Does he hit clutch shots? Yes, he does. Is he an unbelievable, shot maker? Yes, he is. He's creative. I get it. Luka Doncic mentally, I think, lacks the athletic ability that Donovan Mitchell has. And I just think Don's a killer. Yeah. And I don't see the killer instinct in Luka. I really don't. And it's interesting you bring up Kristaps Porzingis, because I think that's a really important point. Donovan Mitchell is a beloved teammate. That's a guy who his guys in the locker room respect and will play hard with Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
I know for a fact you can't say the same thing about Luka Doncic. I mean, the Kristaps Porzingis thing has been nothing short of a disaster for the Mavericks, and a lot of it is that Luka and Kristaps don't get along. That's your second best player. And to me, Luka Doncic's job as a leader and the best player on that team is to make sure that he has chemistry, that he has a relationship with the other best players in that room. He clearly does not. And so for me, when I hear that Donovan Mitchell was out recruiting guys to come to the Jazz, when he was one of the guys leading the charge to get Mike Conley to return to Salt Lake City, to me that says a lot about who Donovan Mitchell is as a professional and who Donovan Mitchell is as a baller. Because you can't be a baller if other guys don't want to play with you.
Right.
That's a huge problem. And that's the one component that I think Donovan Mitchell is head and shoulders better than Luka Doncic. Now, the other guys that we got to throw in here, I don't think he's as good as Devin Booker in Phoenix. I think Devin's all-around game. I think his ability to score whenever he wants, regardless of who else is on the floor. Mm-hmm. I think Donovan Mitchell is just a better scorer of the basketball. And by the way, I also think that Devin Booker is a better scorer of the basketball. I also think Devin Booker is a better defender right now today. Devin Booker went to the Olympics, and he was the best defender on the best team in the Olympic tournament. Mm-hmm. I think that says a lot about Devin Booker's development and his want to. I think I would take Devin slightly ahead of Don, but Donovan Mitchell is better than Jayson Tatum. Donovan Mitchell is better than Damian Lillard, in my opinion. Now, the only difference is, obviously, Dame's got that clutch gene because he's done it in the postseason.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think, the one thing I struggle with Book is just that, in this postseason, he had a propensity for not showing up and not making the three and being really inconsistent offensively. Defensively, it's not in question. Devin Booker's a better player right now, and I think for the most of his career he's going to be, because he's a bigger guy and he's got more body to work with and he's got more ways he can defend you, without a doubt. And he can defend more positions on the floor. So defensively, I think Book has the edge just because of that. But offensively, I think back to, it was recently all over Twitter. Don's, I think he put up 57 against the Nuggets in the bubble 2 years ago. I think that was, he had that ridiculous postseason performance. And, I think back to those kind of signature moments, and it's not as though Book hasn't had those moments, but for me, I'm waiting for Book to have that signature performance in a game of consequence. Because when he put up that, I think, 70 or 71 against the Celtics that night, that wasn't a game of consequence. That was just them playing a game. And so my only critique for Book at this point is just that the three's got to get better, and he's got to show up in big games. He has to consistently be 30 a night, in big games. That would be my only critique. And I think, the other thing we got to talk about here is health. Devin Booker was a guy who struggled with health in the early years of his career. And then Phoenix rolled over its entire health staff. He got better, he got stronger, and now he doesn't struggle with injury anymore. And I think we saw Don this past year struggle with injury a lot, And so I'm not saying that Don is somehow doing something wrong. Obviously, we all know what happened in Indianapolis. We all know that he came down on somebody, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, that's a style of play. The way you play the game largely dictates if you're going to stay healthy or not. So, I don't know. I think they're very, very close. I think right now I probably would give Book the slight edge, especially because we're talking about him getting better at shooting, and he's already one of the best shooters in the league. So, Book versus Don is really tight. I probably, for me, would go with Book, but it's tight. Jayson Tatum, this is a guy I disagree with you on. I think Jayson Tatum's better than both of these guys. He's dunked on LeBron. He's had huge postseason moments. He's carried them. He's done big things in big games. That said, the problem is he didn't do anything this past year to help them. That's the problem. So again, the word inconsistency comes to mind, and that's what makes this conversation difficult, bro. Because Jayson Tatum can get it with the best of them. That's the problem.
Oh, and he dunked on LeBron, so he must be the best player in the world. I hate that. I dunked on LeBron in 2K. Am I the best 2K? Never mind. I'll stop. The point is, I don't care who he dunked on. Jayson Tatum has not made his teams better. That's the biggest issue. That Boston Celtic team has been a disappointment, and maybe some of this is Brad Stevens. Maybe some of this is Gordon Hayward was a complete flop there. Kemba Walker, a complete flop there. Kyrie Irving, a complete flop there. Boston tends to be a place where guys go to die. So the question is that Brad Stevens in the front office, or is that Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown? I don't know. We'll find out. To me, Jayson Tatum is a wonderful player who just isn't on that level yet. I put guys like Devin Booker, Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Luka Doncic, all those guys are ahead of Jayson Tatum. Until he says, until he arrives and until he proves that he is a big game, give me the ball, get out of the way, let me win this for us kind of player. I think Donovan Mitchell's that guy.
Dude,
Devin Booker's that guy.
I don't know what you've been watching then. I mean, he's done that already.
But he has, like, in what games though?
He carried them 2 years ago during the Kyrie years when Kyrie was out. He carried them. He took them places.
Right, but they haven't won anything with him. They haven't won anything with that group. That's why
Book's the only one that's won anything. That's why he gets the edge. That's why I'm saying I think in terms of winning and having big games. Yeah, Book's got to the NBA Finals. No matter how you want to slice it, he got there.
But furthermore, I think it needs to be said, he is one of the main reasons they got there. Like the way he played throughout the playoffs.
His defense is what helped them more than his offense. He was very inconsistent offensively.
Hey, Devin Booker's biggest issue is, and I know we've talked about this 1,000 times. Devin Booker's biggest issue is he's got to become a more consistent 3-point shooter.
Yeah,
and if he does that, not if he does that, when he does that. My feeling,
hello, more tech issues,
more technical issues.
Hello.
What the heck is going on? My feeling is when he does that hello, hi,
can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
Okay.
When Devin Booker does that, I think what you're going to see is if he ever gets to consistently year in and year out, if Devin Booker's making 38 to 40% of his threes, which he's more than capable of doing, it's over.
Yeah.
He will be an absolute killer in this league.
I agree.
The problem is he hasn't been that guy yet.
Yeah.
But that's why we're not talking about him with the elites in this game. We're talking about him with the guys who are close.
The second tier guys.
Yeah, the Dons, the Dames, the Tatums.
Yeah.
I think Book is one of the best players in that second tier.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell, I think, is right next to him.
I think Donovan Mitchell's out for blood this year. I got to be honest with you. With everything we're seeing him doing this offseason, and I know we always bring it up on the show, the names of Chris Brickley and David Alexander, and you guys always hear these names, but there's a reason for that. They're the best in the business at what they do, and I think that there's no better feeling than seeing the best player on your team trying to get better.
But now, and people are going to blow this comment out of proportion. Please don't.
Y'all about to fuck this up.
Yeah, please don't. Already. We haven't even played the full soundbite. We haven't even played the full soundbite, and you're already using that drop. It's amazing. Don't misconstrue what I'm about to say. You know who Donovan Mitchell reminds me of? Michael Jordan.
Okay.
Early in Michael Jordan's career, he had a major foot injury.
That's right.
Early in Michael Jordan's career, he didn't have the supporting cast he needed.
That's right.
And Mike every year got a little better and a little better.
It became personal with me.
And then he showed up able to hit a three. And then he showed up as one of the best defensive players in the game.
Mm-hmm.
What are we seeing out of Donovan Mitchell in the first 5 years of his career?
It's very similar.
He's getting better. He's getting better. He's getting better.
How old
He's
is
got
Don?
this injury.
Is Don's 24, isn't he?
I don't want to say it for sure because I don't know his exact age. But what I'm telling you is, and don't turn this into, that's good. You said he's better than Michael Jordan ever was. No, that's a-hole. That's not what I said.
Idiot.
Donovan Mitchell
is
24.
He's 24.
That's
Dude,
not what I said. What I
so
said
young.
was Donovan Mitchell it reminds me of Michael Jordan in that Donovan is incredibly competitive. Donovan is working his ass off to get better, whether that's incrementally, whether that is shooting the three, his handle. it is very reminiscent of the career arc that Michael Jordan had.
Cold-blooded, clean, methodical, and thorough.
What did Michael Jordan want? Oh, he wanted his friends on the team. He wanted guys that he could play with and trust. Well, why is Eric Paschal here? Because he's friends with Don from childhood and you can trust him, right? Like Michael Jordan wanted to bring back certain free agents. Why is Mike Conley here? Because Donovan Mitchell wanted him here, right? Like you're seeing that those two guys at this point in their careers, in my opinion, and I covered Mike for a long time. I grew up in Chicago, idolized that guy, had the great pleasure of watching him in person. I'm telling you, Donovan Mitchell, and I'd also compare him to Kobe Bryant. Donovan Mitchell is very similar in career trajectory and mentality to Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for that moment. And the thing that terrifies me about Donovan Mitchell is I haven't been able to say, well, the Utah Jazz are going to do what they got to do to win Don a ring. Well, right now, this has been one of the best off seasons in the history of the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, with their situation, there's not much more they could have done. I mean, they've knocked it out of the park.
So now we're starting to see that maybe the Utah Jazz are willing to do what you've got to do. And maybe,
which is different than what you've always done.
Maybe Ryan Smith has cojones to pay the luxury tax and get guys.
Here's the game plan.
If you have a productive season this year, I don't expect the Jazz to compete for a championship. I just don't see that they have the roster to do it. But next summer, you're going to have a lot more flexibility. Your first measuring stick is this Joe Ingles situation. If middle of October rolls around, when he becomes extension eligible, the Utah Jazz extend Joe Ingles. If I'm Donovan Mitchell, I'm pissed. Because that's taking my summer money away, and that is going to impede the Utah Jazz ability to grow and expand this roster.
Yeah.
If you don't win a championship this year, and mark it down that I'm saying this on August 19th of 2021. If you don't win a championship this year and Rudy Gobert's the same, he's a great defensive player. His arms are as long as his cock. If he doesn't turn into a better offensive player and he's still here,
it's just not worth it.
Donovan Mitchell's not going to be here for the rest of his career. Because we can sit here and we can talk about, Don and Rudy and their buddies and high-fiving on Twitter. And Donovan Mitchell wants to win championships.
Yeah, multiple.
I'm telling you, Rudy Gobert is not a championship player. So you got to ask yourself, how do you become a championship player if you're Rudy Gobert? Well, you learn to dribble and you learn to finish without dunking the basketball. That's a measuring stick. The Ingles situation. How long is Bojan Bogdanovic going to be a Jazz man? Because if they don't win a championship this year, he better not be back next year.
Bojan
Bagsnatchovic, I'm telling you.
Bojan Bogdanovic.
That's a guy that you can win a championship with. Not sure I can say that about Joe Ingles and Rudy Gobert.
Yeah. Agreed.
Think about a game 6 against the Brooklyn Nets. Where does Joe Ingles fit into that? You're up 2. There's 17 seconds left on the clock. Is Joe Ingles on the floor? Probably not. Right? Probably not. Well, now you backstopped it with Rudy Gay, right? So what about Royce O'Neal? Can you sit here right now today and tell me Royce O'Neal's a championship player?
No.
Can you tell me that this Utah Jazz team is better, and if all things being equal, everybody's healthy? Are they better than the current incarnation of the Los Angeles Lakers, who said Alex Caruso wasn't good enough? Going to say the Jazz are not better than the Lakers. Are the Jazz better than a healthy Kawhi and Paul George team?
No.
No, they're not. Are they? Wait, and the question is, are the Jazz better than the Phoenix Suns right now? I think that's really close. Athletic ability,
it's very close.
Athletic ability is a problem in that matchup. So
ask me if Devin Booker's making his 3.
Yeah,
that'll decide it.
Exactly. All of this to say, Donovan Mitchell is on the same career arc as Kobe and Jordan. It's a matter of where we go from here.
Yeah.
And the Jazz are the Jazz the Pippen, Horace Grant, John Paxson Bowles front office? Is Ryan Smith, Dr. Jerry Buss, willing to do whatever it takes to win a championship because he's got one of the best players in the NBA? Well, he knew that he had Kobe. He didn't have Shaq, so what'd they do? They went and got Shaq. And when Shaq was gone, what'd they do? They went and got Pau Gasol. And now that Kobe's gone, what'd they do? They went and got LeBron and AD and Russell Westbrook. And
Whatever it takes.
What'd the Brooklyn Nets do? They went and got everybody.
I'm Kevin Durant. You know who I am.
By the way, what did the Milwaukee Bucks do? How'd they win a championship? Because it wasn't Thanos' brother. I mean, I obviously I respect Giannis Ante your mama, but I'm telling you right now, guys like PJ Tucker and Drew Holiday, those are the guys who should be getting the accolades just as much as any Antetokounmpo guy.
A booby.
Because those are the guys that won a championship in Milwaukee because the ownership and the front office went out and made a decision to win a championship.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't care who got hurt. I don't care. Are they better than the Nets? Yeah, this year they were. Yeah, they were. Were the Suns better than the Jazz this year? Yeah, they were. Were they better than the Lakers and the Clippers and the Nuggets and the Blazers? And absolutely they were. Yep. Because the Suns went to the NBA Finals, which means they won the Western Conference Championship. There you go. I'll say what I've said, and now let's hear the ridiculous comments. That's just the way it is.
Welcome to the fucking show.
Yeah, right. Exactly right. Trevor Muse says, been watching for the last couple of weeks. Trevor, welcome to the show. James Knight says, put a gold and purple jersey on Don with extra exposure. His stock goes up dramatically. Well, Christmas Day is really important for Donovan Mitchell.
Absolutely.
This was the other argument that happened the other day. You guys are idiots. The Jazz have been on Christmas Day games in 2018. Okay, so that Donovan Mitchell is this Donovan Mitchell, and that Jazz team is this Jazz team. This Jazz team is exponentially better than where they were in 2018, and Donovan Mitchell is a more ready superstar today than he's ever been.
Yeah.
So if they're following, and again, I know you're going to hate this, they're following the Lakers and the Nets. The marquee matchup of the night is the Lakers and the Nets.
Yeah.
And Donovan Mitchell is the closing act. So
Pretty
trust
awesome.
me, when I say they're going to have a huge audience, Don needs to put up.
Yeah.
That's a 45-point game waiting to happen right there. Don needs to put up. And for me, this Christmas is as big as any Christmas. Red Heart Norvis, good morning to you, bud. He said, hi, guys. We're having spicy grilled frogs for dinner. It'll be done in a few. Listening to you guys while getting it done. Okay. Spicy, like, is that on a kebab over an open fire? Might. Trevor Muse says, Donovan has been getting better every year. How long can he keep this up? His game, it has a lot of growth in it.
Yeah.
A lot. Don's got to learn, and maybe he has now, I don't know. Experience is your best teacher and developer, so he needs the small intangible things. Donovan Mitchell is absolutely capable of taking over a game. He has to learn when the right time to do that is. Because a lot of times what we saw was it turned into Donovan Mitchell and everybody else.
Yeah.
So Conley didn't matter. You know, Rudy never matters offensively. But, like, you have other guys, other pieces. But Donovan takes the ball and will shoot a 50-footer just to shoot, like...
You can't be trying to take over the game in the
that.
second quarter, dude.
No.
I mean, that's not what it's about.
No, you can't do... And the other thing is that you have to understand now, the Jazz did what you asked them to do, which was get you help.
Yep. Now it's time to go do it.
Now it's time to go and use that help and leverage them and become... That's the growth that Donovan needs. His game, his handle, his three-point shot, his jumper, his mid-range, all that's great. I would love to see him go to the basket less. I mean, there's no reason. The mid-range is the dominant part of everybody's game. Mm-hmm. And with the injury you're coming off of with that ankle, we saw it in the postseason. He continued to aggravate that ankle by going into traffic. You know, like, all I'm asking is maybe try to dunk on the entire roster of the other team, maybe just once a game. The other times, pull up at the free throw line or the elbow.
Don't you know who I am?
Right. I mean, you're Shiva, the god of dunking, that
Yeah.
and stuff.
Right.
Did you ever notice Don tries to dunk on a bunch of dudes and never gets there?
Mm-hmm.
Always a layup attempt.
Yeah.
But that's That's how you get hurt. Corey Grocock.
Grocock!
This is a bit better. It's only 10:30 night. Did you get your Xbox yet? I mean,
Yeah. Bro,
yeah,
where's
Corey,
the Xbox at?
Grocock,
Did
you get your Xbox yet? Romaine Chiscani Lasagna says, "Hi guys, who's the best shooting guard in the league for you?"
Klay Thompson.
Clay, well, let's see what happens. I mean, all things being equal, and he's the same guy he was, which is unlikely, Klay Thompson's the best shooting guard in the league. I mean, Devin Booker's there, Don's there. And if we're still assigning two guards, guys' numbers, like, hey, he's a point guard, he's a two guard, Don's there certainly. Tatum, all the guys we've been talking about. Man, that it's like in Portland, does Dame play the two? He brings the ball up a lot, but so does
Just
CJ.
depends. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the whole number thing.
Yeah, I think
it's not
that's
really
very
how
difficult.
the league works anymore.
I think that's very difficult. That to me will be interesting. Tatum has done nothing lately. Cody Strickland says, well, and I think that roster's struggled. They've really, I mean, they won their championship and they've been digging out since.
Yeah.
They've never really bounced back from those days. Why am I awake at 1 a.m., Kenny says. I don't know, Kenny. Where are you that it's 1 a.m.? Kenny says, but who was the best player on the Suns for their finals run? Oh, Devin Booker for sure. I mean, I think we saw at times it was Chris Paul. I think we saw at times it was DeAndre Ayton. But when they were Chris Paul was crap in the finals.
Yeah.
But then Devin Booker had terrible, like game 2 of this series, I think. It wasn't game 3 or game 3. He was awful in game 3.
Yeah.
They were out of gas. The thing that people can't put their finger on in the NBA Finals is that intangible. Again, I'll go back to the Bulls. We saw the Portland Trail Blazers run out of gas against the Bulls. We saw the LA Lakers run out of gas. Remember the Lakers in 1996 NBA Finals against the Bulls? The Lakers won game 1. Mike had a shot at the buzzer to win the game that rattled in and out. Lakers never were in another game. I mean, Mike controlled that series. You run out of gas in the NBA Finals, or you go on and you hang tough and you win. I think what we saw the Suns is their guys just ran out of gas. DeAndre Ayton didn't have any fuel left mentally.
Yeah.
Chris Paul, I have to have surgery after the season. Who cares? It's the NBA Finals. Were you on the floor? Okay, then you weren't hurt.
How the fuck else would you do this,
right?
job?
I mean, he ran out of gas.
Yeah, dude.
Devin Booker ran out of gas.
Yeah.
Mentally, those guys got tired because they had never been at that level.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why the Rudy Gays and the Mike Conleys of the world are so important to the Jazz, because they have guys who have competed at the top of the league.
Yeah.
Now they haven't won, but they've been on those Memphis Conley teams were really good. Some of those teams that Rudy Gay has been on, he's been on some pretty good teams, and he played at UConn. Like, I mean, he's
a good player.
These are guys that are going to be there when you need them. It's the Andre Iguodala's of the world who have seen it. It's Ray Allen hitting that 3 in the corner, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's guys, your intangible secondary players are why you win championships. I mean, LeBron is not going to win you a championship. He was your best player, but AD hit that 3 ball.
Marcus Smart literally used to be a come off the bench guy and give you toughness, and now he's starting for the Celtics and making $77 million on a contract. So if that doesn't serve to show you that the second tier player can come into this league, do some nice things and get paid, I mean, I don't know what would, man.